Hello students, how are you? Hope you are well. So today we will start a new chapter through this video tutorial, that is about our respiratory system. Okay. So as you know, the respiratory system means or a respiratory system actually consists of uh, the respiration process, deals with the respiration. Okay, we know that we have already completed our chapter, the digestive system, and there we had discussed that the food we take, it's finally converted into glucose. Okay, and that glucose is mixes up in the blood, and then it gets oxidized, and that's how we get energy to do any kind of work. Okay, so for this chapter we will discuss about some of the topics related to the respiration. Okay, so respiration are basically of two types. Okay, respiration basically of two types. One is internal respiration, and one is external respiration. We will discuss in this video about the external respiration. External respiration means the action of taking out air from the outside, okay, and the fate of the air after that. Okay, that means we take up oxygen through air, we all know that, and what will be its fate afterwards, that will be discussed in this external respiration. Okay, so for starting that, we will have 2 points. Okay, that is, once we take up air, okay, once we take up air for our breathing purpose, it's a process called inhaled air, okay, or inhalation. Okay, and the air that we expelled out from our body, it is called as exhaled air, and the process is called exhalation. Okay, so we'll start about the respiration chapter. Okay, so this respiration process is consisting of the organ system named as the respiratory tract. Okay, respiratory tract are the responsible for performing this respiration action. So in the respiratory tract, there are several organs associated to form the respiratory tract. Okay, starting from our nose. Okay, starting from our nose, then windpipe. Okay, then a different structure, then a delicate structure that is inside the sternum, that is called the bronchus, then lungs, and then alveoli. Okay, these are the five systems that are responsible for the respiration process to make happen. Okay, so what are the organs? Nose, then windpipe, then bronchus, then lungs, and finally alveoli. Okay, so by this organ system, the respiratory process takes place in our body. Okay, so we will discuss about the action of these particular organs in detail. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, so we'll start from the nose. Okay, so what about nose? We know the basic functions, as we can say, nose is to inhale air, right? We inhaled air through our nose. Okay, and once we inhaled air, we are actually inhaling oxygen. Then what happens after that? Okay, that is the big question. So once you take air from your nose, and then your nose have a nasal cavity. Okay, then your nose, inside your nose you will find your nasal cavity, and then you have nostril. Okay, you have nostril, that means nose is afterwards the nasal cavity, and then you have nostril. Okay, air passes through this nostril. Okay, the external air that you take some is passes through this nostril. Okay, then and in between these structures, between the nostrils, there are tiny muscle cells. Okay, very delicate tiny muscle cells. What they do, they actually, that means if you think properly, that our air is consisting of so many dust particles and so many unnecessary things that we don't want. Okay, we want just the air to come inside our body. We don't want nothing else. So once you takes up oxygen, the external things also passing through your nose, and you don't want them. So what happened, these nostril, inside the nostril you have some tiny small hairs like structure that trap these unnecessary things. Okay, that traps these unnecessary things and makes the air a passage to go through inside the inner structure. Okay, that is the work of nose. Okay, then we have a next structure, that is the windpipe. Okay, or pharynx. Okay, it's called as pharynx. So after the air passing from the nose, it reaches to the pharynx. Okay, and then it moves towards the pharynx, and pharynx is this structure. Okay, pharynx is present in this structure. There is also a different structure present, that is called the sound box or larynx. Okay, so pharynx is in this structure. The air from the nose is passed through this pharynx. Okay, passed through this pharynx, and then it divides. Okay, the pharynx actually proceeding towards the lungs. Okay, lungs is our main respiratory organ. Okay, where the respiration occurs. So the pharynx is branching out to a different structure, which is now called as bronchus. Bronchus is the singular, and its plural will be bronchi. Okay, so the pharynx is now divided into two bronchi. Okay, so the air that you take from your nose is passes on to the pharynx, and then it passes on to the bronchus. Okay, now the what will the bronchus do? Then this air, the oxygen rich air, is reached towards the lungs. Okay, so from the nose, then the pharynx, and then through bronchus it reaches to the lungs. Okay, now we have come to the main point of our respiratory system, that is our lungs. Okay, so in lungs, what happens in lungs? Lungs is the main respiratory organ, as I have already said. Lungs is, there are two lungs. Okay, one is left and one is right. The left one is a bit smaller because of the actually made a place for the heart. Okay, heart is on our left side. Okay, so the left lung is a bit small than the right lung. Okay, so inside the lung, the fate of the air is finally determined. How it is determined? That is, inside our lungs, okay, there is presence of a sac-like structure. Okay, it is the most important fact. That is, inside our lung there is a presence of a sac-like, tiny sac-like structures, which is called as alveoli. Okay, and the singular will be alveolus. So there are lots of alveoli present inside the lungs, and these alveoli, what they do, they trap the air. Okay, they trap the air, and then you just think logically. Okay, and be very careful. This alveoli is kind of a structure. Okay, let's assume it is your alveoli. Okay, there are thousand lakhs and lakhs of alveoli inside the lung. It is your alveoli. Okay, and these alveoli is covered up within this. Okay, within these capillaries. That means the alveoli is bounded by a capillary. Capillary is what? Blood capillaries. That means it is a pipe-like structure which wraps the alveoli. Okay, and then once the oxygen, air-rich oxygen, is reached in the alveoli. Okay, and it is your capillary. We know capillary, the artery and the capillary. Okay, so capillary is the medium to transport blood. Okay, now that oxygen is reached to this alveoli, this oxygen can easily transfer into this capillary. Okay, so what the capillary is doing? Capillary is always transporting blood, right? So once the oxygen from the alveoli gets mixed, they get passing through these capillaries, the blood became oxygenated. It is the normal concept, right now. So now my blood is getting oxygenated, that is my blood is getting pure. And now this blood, we all know that oxygenated blood is actually transported in throughout our body. Okay, so now the blood is becoming oxygenated, and now this blood is going through our, is coming through our heart, and once it reaches to our heart, the heart is pumping, and then the whole oxygenated blood is reaches throughout our whole body, and our body gets oxygenated blood. And then we know the food we take inside our, through our diet, that food ultimately, we have already learned it in the digestive system, that the food we get is converted into what, glucose, and then this glucose along with this oxygenated blood, this glucose is mixes up with this oxygenated blood, and then this glucose is oxidized. And what will be the result? If it is oxidized, that means oxygen is mixes up with this, anything is unrelating with the oxygen gets burned, we know. So the food gets burned, that means, to be precisely scientifically, it will be said it is oxidized, and as a result CO2 will be produced. Okay, CO2 will be produced, and this CO2 will be expelled out through our nose, and it will be expelled out from our body. Okay, one more thing, that this blood is contained on the capillaries, there is a presence of hemoglobin, a protein named as hemoglobin. This hemoglobin does what? This hemoglobin actually combines with the oxygen that the alveoli contains. So the hemoglobin, on reacting with the oxygen, okay, it becomes a protein called oxyhemoglobin, and that oxyhemoglobin is now flowing with the blood, and then this blood is transporting everywhere in the body. And similarly, on the contrary, the carbon dioxide that is generating in our body, it's containing the carbon dioxide mixes up with the hemoglobin, and it becomes another protein called carbaminohemoglobin. Then this carbaminohemoglobin again comes through the heart, we know, by pulmonary artery, and then it reaches to the lungs. And on the lungs, once it reaches to the lungs, to be precise the alveoli, then it is just maintaining the, following the opposite rules, that is the lungs, then it will be windpipe, then it will be nostril, and finally it will be expelled throughout the body. The CO2 of that blood will be expelled out from the body. Okay, so hope you understand the mechanism of breathing, the external breathing. We will that is for this video, we will discuss about the breathing experiment, the breathing procedure in the next video. Okay, thank you.